All right, welcome to another Derek Burleson art. Today we're going to do a little barns scene. I call this Kansas Barn in Winter. A little bit different. I know I didn't show the beginning of it. The back is just gesso, little gray. Uh, kind of mixed them in there, modeled it in there. Not really modeled, just kind of scumbled it in there, give it that kind of hazy background. And oh, and kind of with that hazy background. Then I took a little gesso, water, thinned it down a whole lot, and then I went over it, made it kind of look hazy. So just taking a little bit of the gesso still, put it on that roof. Now I'm going to kind of just seaten my barn in there a little bit. Going to put some shadow in there. Now this is really going to, in the end, it's going to look really nice. Just going to have to follow the process. The background was done. Anyway, I put the background in. Then I just hand drew in the barn. I looked at a couple of barn pictures to see the style I wanted. Put it in, kind of deciding where I'm going. I don't have any picture that I'm really looking at. On the barn colors, that's just burnt umber, a little, uh, I believe a little bit of burnt sienna and some yellow ochre. And I kind of just scumbled it in there. Took some black and brown, kind of make that shadow detail. And that's kind of what I'm doing there. As you can see, I'm going to put slats and boards in there in just a minute. Right now I'm taking a little bit of that burnt umber and burnt sienna, kind of going over, finding some little darker places that's in the wood. This is going to give it a lot of depth of detail in the end, and I think this is really going to be a nice painting. Like I said, I know I've kind of cut in and out, and I believe this is like almost 50 minutes or something long after I've done all the cutting. I do want to do maybe a live feed and paint from the beginning all the way through. It may be a 2-hour live video, which again will be recorded. You could always go back and watch later, but if you're just going to, I believe, so I'm just going to, I believe at this point I'm going to grab my dagger brush once I get all this shading put in. And I'll use that dagger brush to put the little lines in the boards in. This is going to eyes. So this is going to eyes. So this is going to eyes. So this is going to, we're going to take our time at this point and kind of just really start making this thing look really, really nice. Again, I'm just kind of putting some touches here and there where I think there might be shadow. I really don't know where my light source is going to come from yet, but I believe it's probably going to come from the right. And so even though as in a little bit later as we move on, as in a little bit later as we move on, as in a little bit later as we move on. Okay, now I've grabbed my little flat brush. I couldn't tell you what size it is. It's just a little small. I don't know if it's a number one or flat brush, but I'm going to use it to kind of put that line across there. This is kind of where this is going to kind of separate those boards. Just freehanding across there. We'll highlight it later. All right, now I'm going to take that dagger brush, and I love this dagger brush to do lines. And I'm just going to take a little bit of Mars Black and just kind of going back and forth and just kind of going back and forth and just kind of going back and forth and different size boards. Don't make it all uniform. This is an old barn. This was probably put up back before they had kiln-dried lumber, and before it had treated lumber and everything was the same size. This is probably taken right off trees around the farm, and ran through a on-site mill or went to a mill and just found some different size boards. And we're just kind of putting them in there. We'll highlight them a lot better later. Right now, we're just kind of just getting them in there where we think that they might be. Worry too much in here where if you're kind of going down into the snow. We'll seat this barn in later. We'll put some snow up there. We're going to put some grasses up in there. So just kind of put in your random lines somewhere. And like I said, we'll seat it and we'll really set the barn in there later. I kind of took my pogo stick here, my maul stick. The only reason I did that is because trying to freehand on this side was tough because the camera's there and my hand was right in front of the camera and I didn't want to bump it. So I just kind of made me a little rest for my hand. And here you can just kind of watch me. I'm taking that little flat brush, taking a little ochre, maybe a little bit of cadmium yellow, and I'm just maybe a touch of white, titanium white at this point, and I'm just going to kind of highlight some of those boards. So I'll just let you sit back and watch the process. And then I'll go into probably my script liner brush, and I'll add some more detail into the boards. But I'll just let you kind of sit back and watch and paint along if you feel like it. This is really going to make that barn pop later. Okay. Now I've just went back to that little flat brush. Gonna just start putting in some old broken boards here and there. This old barn's been around a long time. Farmer hasn't taken a lot of care of it. Probably not much in there anymore. May store some implements, things like that, maybe some old tools. Probably haven't been in livestock in there for quite a while. So some of the boards are missing. That's just kind of what I'm doing. And I think right here I'm just using straight Mars black. Maybe I put a touch of blue or a touch of brown in there. But anyway, the paints that I use is just Mars black. I did some gesso to put the background on, then some titanium white. Titanium white will give us a little bit brighter whites. Yellow ochre, burnt umber, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. Then there a little bit of cadmium orange. I don't know if I used a lot of it in here. And some yellow ochre, or I'm sorry, cadmium yellow light. And really that's about it. And not a lot of colors. What I do is I use a wet um, palette for my paints. And basically it's a container. It's got, I put water in it, and then I put paper towel in, then I put parchment paper over the top of that. Then I put my acrylic paints on. And so when I'm done painting, I can just put the lid on, snap it down, and my acrylic paints will stay wet for weeks. As long as that stays wet in there, it really does nice. I love it. So anyway, what I'm doing is just kind of touching up some areas here, putting where I think old broken boards might be. Again, I have no picture that I'm looking at. I looked at several barn pictures and that people had taken that I found on the internet, and I just kind of took two or three different ones to kind of put it together. Some for the style, some for the color, and then I didn't like where the door was on one, so I moved the door over. Some of them had a hayloft in it. I really didn't want that in this one. And then most all of them were just really nice, pristine barns, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted just an old barn. Been out in some Kansas field for 100 years. The farmhouse probably isn't even there anymore. This is just setting out. Probably some old trees around. Farmer comes in and he plows the field. Maybe he has some hay field around there. Maybe he has cattle somewhere else. But he just uses this mostly for storage. And when I say hay, on that right side, I don't know quite what I'm going to do yet. Left side, I'm going to put a tree, and it's going to kind of cover up a lot of that roof. And the reason I do that is right now your eye goes to the left, to the right, and it doesn't have anywhere to focus on. So by putting a tree on the left, that eye will go over and there's just a big empty void there, and that tree will make the eye go back over into the painting. And then I'll put some grasses, probably even an old road in there, but it hasn't been used in a long time. But what do I do on the right? And I think what I'm going to do is put a round hay bale over there, and just to kind of make the eye. And then maybe in the foreground on the right side or toward the center, I may come back later, not today, but later, and put an old truck in there. Maybe an old rusty truck. Maybe an old blue rusty truck. I've done red trucks, green trucks. We need an old blue truck. So I may really think about putting that in later. But right now I'm just kind of highlighting that board that's going across there, kind of separating those. Now, behind these, there's probably some sort of structure. Well, we know there's some sort of structure, but So I'm putting in some boards back there, kind of looks like bracing. So there's something behind those holes. And we'll highlight them in a minute with some snow, make them really pop. But I'm just kind of going through and saying, okay, this is where I would see some of them old boards. Now I'm just going right into that titanium white and just going to highlight those boards. You can really see them starting to come through now. And I'm just going to go on and just kind of tap across. Don't draw just a white straight line because then it won't look real. But if you just kind of smooth, stop, kind of just put it place to place, it'll make the bottom looks like that snow is roughly and laying on that board. Just make it look more natural. And I'll just kind of go across there. Always got to be careful on that right side so I don't hit the camera. So my hand kind of gets in the way on a lot of this more than I want to. We're just going to come in here and find where all that snow would kind of hide. I'm going to do that top board now. This has been a really fun painting. I enjoyed it. And I think that I could easily do this in a class. And I know I've had a lot of people that has sent messages to me about several things. One, you talk too much. We just want to watch you paint. So I try to put a little music in there, less talking. And then I've had people say that, well, you've edited too much. And I do. I do edit it a lot. I have done some, and the painting takes 2 hours and nobody wants to watch it. I've thought about taking a painting and doing it from the beginning to the end, but maybe do it in 4 sessions. And then that way it's broken down. You can watch it, then stop, watch it later or the next episode. And also going live and doing one from the beginning all the way through with all the mistakes, with all the stops, everything, and you just watch it live. Um, I think that'd be a lot of fun, and I'm really thinking about doing that one. Now I'm just going to go right along that roof line, just same way I did along these boards, just tapping along there. See how the bottom kind of looks like the snow's coming down over that fascia board. See how that barn is now really starting to pop with those whites. And we'll add a few more highlights. And again, maybe that snow's kind of falling down over the side there. Kind of do this side. Even though we're going to put a tree over there. Now the tree is going to be mostly just limbs, but I'm going to put a few old leaves on there, and they're holding snow. You never know. Around here, a lot of times we'll have trees that'll hold old dead leaves for half the winter, it seems like, before they're gone. Maybe this had a little snow in November, maybe early December. You can kind of see the trees in the back on the right. They may have some leaves still on them. They just haven't fallen off yet. Now just kind of, where would that snow kind of get caught in some of them boards? And again, I'm not going to do a whole lot because this is one that I want to do in a class possibly. Now I'm just taking that titanium white and I'm just going to kind of scumble along, leaving some of the grays in. And the brush I'm using here is just a filbert brush, kind of like what we do clouds, mist, haze. So just going to put it on, but again, leaving some of those gray tones in there so it gives a little definition. And again, the trees are going to cover uh, a lot of this roof. Just use that old filbert brush and just scumble it in. There we go. Define that top edge a little bit. Don't go too crazy on it. Like I said, again, we're gonna cover a lot of it up with the tree and some branches, but you never know what'll show through. So it's better to finish off the painting so what does show through looks more natural. It's really hard to kind of go back in and do this once you have a tree covering up a lot of it, and then you go, dang, I missed a spot. Just go through real quickly. And you can put the snow on the roof as thick as you want, make it look like there's 6, 8 inches of snow on there. I'm just kind of covering it in white, maybe only a couple of inches laying on there. Now over here is going to probably be covered up mostly with a tree. But I want to put it in there just so if there is something showing, you'll see it looks like maybe some old snow. Remember, I said I'm gonna work ahead a little bit, and I'm gonna just start putting in some snow, leaving some of the grays scumbling in. So when I put the tree in, that's all done. Okay, here I'm just gonna put in some gray color in there, not really worrying about perspective that much. Because what I'm going to do is, this is more just going to be shadow where the old road was going to be. And you'll see here in a minute. I'm going to just start putting in snow and blending it together. And you'll see how it all comes together. But I know you're probably wondering, wow, that seems awful dark and not a lot of perspective. But it'll make sense here in just a few minutes. There. As you can see, we just made it shadowy, and we're going to cover up a lot more. We're going to have some grasses in there pretty soon. But right now, I'm just really trying to get the lay of the land, the color. That way, when we start putting things in, I don't have to go back later and go, oh, shoot, I forgot to put that piece of snow in or that shadow in. So right now, just trying to get ahead a little bit here. And again, right over in there, that's where my hay bale's going to be. Just kind of getting some different colors in there. Again, now I'm using a 5/8 inch, 3/4. I think it's a 5/8 inch flat brush. Just using it to scumble in that snow. You know, you could use really anything. Fan brush. All right, now I've gone back to that dagger brush, and I love the dagger brush for putting in my main parts of my tree. And this is just a little black and white, kind of made a grayish color. May added just a touch of burnt umber in there. And here I'm just trying to see about where my main trunk and limb's going to go. As you can see, it starts out really small. I always start my trees out small, and then I start making them bigger until I get the size I want. Really hard that if you decide to put it in big all at once, and then you go, ooh, that tree's way too big. You can't make it smaller unless you paint over and start again. So I just layer by layer, step by step, till I kind of get the tree the way I want it. And here, this is about the part that I've used the dagger brush. Now I'm going to go into my little script liner brush, and I'm just going to take that same paint, same color paint, but I thinned it down with water just so it glides like ink. And now I'm just going to just start putting in my little tree limbs. And remember, the more tree limbs you put in, the more realistic the tree looks and the painting will look. And remember to cross over some of the main beams of the tree, the main branches, so it doesn't look two-dimensional. Try to make it look a little more three-dimensional. And when we put our leaves in, our old dead leaves, they'll be the same. We'll kind of put them over the trunks, just like I did there a little bit. Just take your time here. This is where you can put as many as you want or as few as you want. You don't even have to put any tree, old dead leaves or anything like that. You could leave it right there. Now I'm just taking that same script liner brush with some titanium white, just kind of some of them crevices where that snow might build up. Now I've just kind of darkened down that paint just a little bit. And I'm using my little comber brush here and just going to put on that darker side. I'm sorry, that's not my comber brush yet. That's the small flat brush. So we know that light now is going to come from that right side. So I just kind of darken up that side of the tree. Now I'm going to take my little scruffy brush and I put on some just straight titanium white, kind of putting it in there, because when it goes off of the roof onto the barn more, it really shows. But up in the barn, it won't show as much. So I added just a little touch of gray, grayed it down just a little bit, and that'll be my base layer. And then when I come back, I'll come back with the titanium white, pure titanium, and highlight over that, so give it more dimension. And again, just adding some old tree limbs in here and some leaves. Now, as you can see here, now I'm starting to bring in more grays, more whites, kind of giving it a little more dimension. But you see how that side of the painting now, your eye doesn't slide right down that snowy roof off the painting. It kind of comes in, sees that tree, and then it moves your eye back over toward the center of the painting. And then when I put that hay bale on the other side, as your eye starts to go that way, it'll see that hay bale, and it'll kind of move itself back into the center of the painting. Painting is all about tricking the eye. And sometimes we do things against nature in painting to trick the eye more. If we painted such a realistic painting that looked like a photograph, sometimes it's boring. So in art, a lot of times you'll put light maybe where in nature there wouldn't be light, but your eye may not know, but it really makes your painting pop. Now what I've done, now I'm using my comb or brush, and I took burnt umber and ultramarine blue, mixed them together to give me that rich brownish blue color. And I'm just flicking up. I added just a little bit of water, not a lot yet, just enough where it glides up, looks like little pieces of grass sticking up. And we're going to put them here and there. And I'm kind of making them all the same size here. There are a few small, bigger ones. And normally as we come down the painting, they'll get bigger. But here, if you see them all the same, they'll get bigger later. Plus, I'll take the script liner brush and we'll add in some bigger grasses later. Right now, we're just trying to get stuff on the canvas. And we'll work on that and just start putting them where we think they should be. Okay. Now that might have been a little Christmassy, but who knows? Maybe it's Christmas time. Maybe it's Christmas Eve and we've had a little snow and this old barn is kind of lonely on Christmas Eve. But anyway, I'm taking a little bit of that titanium white and I'm putting down at the base of these little grasses, kind of seating them in, kind of give them a little light. And I just kind of go through there and just kind of puts them into the snow a little more, where they're not just sitting out there in space. Just getting ready to put that hay bale in, so Gotta get the ground prepped for it. And again, we'll put some taller grasses in later. And then we're gonna put, some snowflakes coming down. We're not gonna get that blowing snow in this one like we've done others. Okay, now here I know the hay bale is in. I, turned off the camera to get my pencil and, um get ready to put that in. So I drew it in and then I put in the undertones, which is just some burnt umber, some gray, and I shaped it and I put some gray in for the shadow. And then I notice, oh, I didn't turn the camera back on when I started drawing it in. So still trying to improve my editing and filming. Sometimes I get so caught up painting that I forget I need to turn the camera on. So that's why the hay bale is already in. Just kind of taking that script liner brush down, putting some taller grasses in, and then we'll get started on that hay bale. And the hay bale will just be uh, some burnt umber. Then there'll be yellow ochre, a little yellow cadmium yellow light, little titanium white, and we'll make that old hay bale look good. And then we'll put some snow on top of it. But anyway, we got kind of our grasses in. Also, again, I left that front right area open. I may just want to put an old pickup truck there, but that'll be at a later date. Now here I'm just taking that little flat brush that I've been using, and I'm just scumbling in some yellow ochre. Don't want to cover up all those undertones. Even though we'll add some more in, we'll make that look like that hay bale has a ring, like it's been when they roll it up into the baler and then it comes out. A round bale is, if you could roll it out and it'd be like a sheet, but it's rolled up, and we'll put those in there. But right now, we're just kind of scumbling in colors, the colors again, I looked at a couple of round bales just for color, but I've seen so many round bales in my life that you kind of just naturally know the color. Anyway, we're kind of putting our face on there, and this is going to be a little bit on the lighter side because that light will kind of hit it a little bit more. And then on that left side, it'll be a little bit more shaded, especially at the bottom. Some light will be coming up over the top of it, though, rolling over the top of it. See, now I'm just taking that burnt umber and I'm just kind of rolling it around in a circle. Just kind of coming around there, adding a little bit more colors. And we'll add a little bit more that burnt umber. But we're just kind of getting some detail in that round bale. It's really going to start looking good. This is going to start popping here. And like I said, we'll put snow on the top here in a little bit. Okay, let's start adding some shadow at the bottom of this hay bale. And we'll start adding some more color. We'll switch to that script liner brush here in just a couple minutes, and then we'll start putting all the little hay, little grasses. Right now I'm just going back, taking that flat brush, putting in some burnt umber, maybe just a little bit of the ultramarine blue mixed in, kind of giving it that circular motion. It's kind of forming it a little bit more too, giving it more of that three-dimensional look. Now we're going to come in with that script liner brush. And this is yellow ochre, uh, cadmium yellow light mixed in, putting that here and there. And then we'll come in with just a little bit of titanium white to give it some highlights here and there. But basically just sticking with yellow ochre and yellow cadmium light. This will give us our little grasses and things. We'll go around and where it's rounded there, we'll kind of go out of that circle just a little bit so it looks like some of the hay is sticking out of the bale. And we'll just keep going around getting our hay bale looking really nice. Just enough detail that the eye says, that's a hay bale, that's a round bale. And it starts seeing all those little grasses and it goes, oh, I can see things in there, and your eye just finishes that whole hay bale. See, now I'm just coming in and maybe just a little highlight on that side, bringing those grasses out. And then we'll start working on the left side of that hay round bale. And again, you're going to see some of the same colors right here because that light's kind of bouncing over the top of it. And it's going to kind of wrap around a little bit. And then we're just going to kind of shape it as we go. Just give that illusion of all kinds of little grasses poking here and there. Just using that little script liner brush. And like I said, on the top of that, there will be snow laying up there. That'll really set that hay bale off. But kind of looks like maybe the farmer, he brought his hay bales in, and I don't know if he just set that one there or if he had more and he's down to his last one. I sure hope that ain't his last one and it's just Christmas Eve. He's going to be in trouble, or he's going to be buying hay somewhere. Let's hope that he has some more behind the barn. Maybe this one just kind of rolled over there and he just left it there. Now we're just taking that straight titanium white. Just going to kind of tap across there. Looks like the light's kind of hitting it. And that old snow's just kind of falling down over the side. These are the little things that really make your painting pop. And again, I could spend a lot more time on this painting and make every blade of grass look real and make the slats on the barn look even more real. The tree, you could spend hours making this almost look like a photograph. But one, we learn to paint loose, and then two, this is going to be for a future class, I hope. And I have to make sure that I can paint it in about 3 or 4 hours. Now we're just adding a little titanium white there just to kind of seep that hay bale into the snow a little bit. Maybe a little highlight there. And yeah, I brought some highlight around that side, which it probably wouldn't be as bright. But again, I took a little bit of that artistic license to just so the eye sees it and it pops a little bit more. It's kind of seating in some of those grasses. But this was a really fun painting to do. I had a lot of fun painting this. And as you can see, this is going to make a great painting. Now I just took my gesso with a little bit of water, toothbrush, and I'm just going to keep flicking those snowflakes on there. See how they start popping? And where you want more, just add a little bit more. Anyway, this was a great painting. I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you paint along, and I hope that you can join me for the next one. Thanks for joining. Have a great week, and I really hope you can paint along and be with me next week.